I don't think we have seen Shakur face anyone higher than who he's gonna face next, and that's of me. So, I definitely, commend him at least for stepping up to the plate. But I think it's time. I think it's really that time for him to really take his first loss, and me whoop his to the point where either he quits on the stool or I knock him out.
Was interesting. What did you make of his vibe overall?
I think something mentally wrong with him. I don't think he's like all the way there mentally. I think he's crazy.
Legit?
That's my opinion. Yeah, I think he's legit crazy. I think something really wrong with him, but that's what make him dangerous. I think them the guys is the most dangerous people. Them delusional, crazy people who want to be the best and want their spot at greatness. So I gotta respect it, but I think something is definitely awful.
Teofimo Lopez faced Shakur Stevenson head on live,
where he talked about people are going to see my power. They talk a lot about my defense, but they're going to see my power in this fight against Teofimo.
Shakur is slow. He's slow. I seen him at lightweight. I seen only highlights of his last fight with Cepeda, and he's slow. He's really slow. There's nothing more to it than that.
Like, even if they're not friends, but they know each other like that, one of two things always happens. Okay. Either it's a sparring session or it's brutal. If there's very little in between.
Sparring session. This is not going to be no sparring session.
What's it going to be?
He's coming to win. I'm coming to win. I guarantee you that.
I'm coming to conquer.
You're not conquering shit.
Tell us.
You're not conquering.
You could feel everything change the second he said this is not Twitter fingers anymore, this is real boxing. Teofimo brushed off the online talk and made it clear that yes, they went back and forth on social media, but now it is time to do it in the ring where it matters most. That energy stood out because it did not sound like a planned promotion. It sounded like someone who was done with typing and ready to fight.
Shakur is a very talented, skillful, technique fighter.
Yeah.
Can't take anything away from it. However, scared to get hit. Scared to get knocked out in front of the world. Scared to get touched up in front of the world.
Are you saying that off for the last fight or just
in general?
In general.
In general.
Yeah.
In general. Me and Shakur sparred before. We did 3 rounds, and it was just light work. And me trying to figure out his jab. Does he have a good jab? Yeah, he does. But once you pass his jab, it's game.
Yeah.
It's food. It's lunch food.
He still showed Shakur some respect in his own sharp way by saying Shakur earned credit for moving straight to 140 without warm-up fights and leaving his comfort zone. But you could hear what was coming next like a loaded punch. Teofimo said clearly that he is giving Shakur his first loss and that the fight will not play out the way Shakur expects. That is classic Teofimo confidence pushing close to fantasy, but that attitude has always been part of who he is.
He's just coming right to the guy, and that's me. The king of the 140 division, super lightweight division, that's Teofimo Lopez. And, he's willing to step up, get out of his comfort zone, and yeah, I give him that. However, it's not going to happen. I would love to, and I see myself giving him his first loss in his professional career.
Teofimo Lopez says that he's going to fight Shakur Stevenson dirty.
Stylistically, when you see a fighter like him, it is not illegal to do certain punches and throw certain punches or hit certain areas.
I heard that concept from an icon.
That's depending on how masterful he is. You have to be dirty. You gotta be rough. You have to use the elbows, head, bend it up. You have to use everything. And this guy, as far as his style is concerned, this guy is a master.
Then he threw out the biggest statement, yet he said fighting Shakur means turning it into a messy fight because trying to play chess with a chess master puts fans to sleep and leaves judges guessing. He completely dismissed the idea of Shakur being the best defensive fighter. He said he sees clear weaknesses, called Shakur slow, questioned his speed, and claimed that none of Shakur opponents have been anywhere near his level yet.
I can't be too technical with Shakur. You got to make it a little ugly. You got to make it a little ugly. If you try to be too technical with Shakur, it could be too long of a weighted chess match. Certain people don't want to see that. They don't want to see pop shots. You know what I mean? They want to see good action. I don't think, for me, I don't see Shakur having the best defense in boxing. However, others can attest that. So, I just can't wait to really show the flaws that I see in Shakur Stevenson and, really putting that to the test when that time comes.
And right on cue, Shakur responds with that quiet threat saying speed does not need promotion, it always arrives on time, and everyone thinks they see openings until they start getting hit, which is honestly more intimidating than shouting. Teofimo talking about pushing for a stoppage or a knockout after rediscovering his hunger, especially after Times Square sounds intense.
And though Shakur Stevenson is no Floyd Mayweather, he is considered probably the most superior, technically sound boxer in the world. So with Teofimo Lopez saying, hey, I'm going to do things that people may think is dirty, but it's legal. I can't fight in a very sound sportsmanship manner. I have to create chaos. And maybe Shakur Stevenson, maybe he can't operate in the chaos.
But that level of belief is what turns fights risky. Shakur answers by saying more weight does not change his mind, and being close to Crawford does not create ambition, it builds discipline. This is not just trash talk meeting trash talk, it is two styles crashing straight into each other, chaos testing control, to see who breaks first, and trust me, someone confidence is about to get tested live.
About Crawford in the past, and you know, Crawford stated, "Oh, you want to get to me?"
Yeah, but he
fight
really
Shakur
wanted to
first.
fight Crawford, and we're gonna call him out after we beat up his boy. You know,
So that's the game plan.
That's
Even
the
though
game
you guys
plan.
have, even if he requires you,
well, he
guys
ain't
go
gonna
up.
fight us, man. He ain't gonna fight us, man. We've been chasing this guy for the longest. My son is even willing to go up to 160 to fight him. You know, listen, speed kills. You know what I'm saying? Speed kills, and that's why we're gonna beat Shakur. He ain't faster than us, and we're gonna catch him. We're gonna catch him.
And after Teofimo and Shakur spent all that time exchanging confidence like money, Robert Garcia stepped in and calmly reminded everyone that hype does not win rounds decisions. He called it a great matchup. And I like that he did not exaggerate it, because when a trainer like him says great, he really means risky for both sides. He gave credit to Teofimo big victories, and to Shakur chasing history as a 3-division champion moving toward a 4th title. Then he shifted to what fans often ignore: heart and intelligence.
Teofimo has had some great performances, great wins. Shakur is also a 3-division champion, going for his 4th. You know, unbelievable talent. It's a fight where you know we're gonna see talent from both, but we also have to see heart. That who has that heart to become the man.
Garcia made it clear this fight is not about who looks better on Instagram. It comes down to who makes smarter choices and who stays calm under pressure. That answer sounds exactly like a coach, and it hits hard when he says the fight might not be non-stop action, but will still keep everyone on edge. That is real boxing talk, because some fights are quiet but full of tension where every jab feels important. I agree with him, because this is not the kind of fight where mistakes disappear, they get punished. Garcia saying it comes down to intelligence and fewer errors matches perfectly with everything we have been building toward from the start.
If Teofimo comes in at his best, because we've seen some great performances, but then we've also had those questions about Teofimo's mind, mentality in boxing, his future. So hopefully we get the best Teofimo, the Teofimo that wants to be the best in the world, because we know Shakur is one of those. Shakur always comes in as best. He wants it the best.
Teofimo performs best when chaos works in his favor, while Shakur shines when chaos is shut out. That point about timing matters, because we rarely get two elite fighters meeting at the same moment with no excuses and no talk about being too late or too early. I also notice Garcia quietly pointing out that heart is just as important as intelligence, which is a reminder that even smart fights demand courage when the pressure rises. This fight is not about control or dominance, it is about staying calm when everything is on the line, and Garcia made it clear without raising his voice that the fighter who handles his emotions better could end up taking it all.
That fight's gonna be more about who's smarter, who plays the better cards, and who doesn't make mistakes, because it's going to be one of those fights where we might not have too much action, but we're all going to be standing up because we want to see who's going to land and who's going to be the one that finds those punches to land. It's a very interesting fight, and they're both in their prime. They're both, that's what boxing is about.
And right after Robert Garcia laid out that calm grown-up plan about staying composed and making smart choices, Mikey Garcia jumped in, sounding like someone who has faced the challenge and knows there are no shortcuts. Mikey did not pretend there is an easy way to beat Shakur, and I respect that, because when he says it is hard to call, that is honesty, not avoidance. He focused on Teofimo's size and time at the weight, basically saying if you are the bigger, stronger fighter, you cannot ignore that you have to use it, because advantages are useless if you leave them behind. But what made Mickey's view stand out is how quickly he turned to reality. Right after talking about size, he starts listing Shakur's defense, speed, and footwork like a checklist of problems. That is Mikey pointing out the threat without making it sound dramatic.
To kind of deal with a guy like Shakur Stevenson, how would you approach a fighter like Shakur Stevenson if you were Teofimo Lopez with the attributes that he has?
I would think Teofimo, being that technically he's a bigger fighter, bigger size, he's been at the weight class a little more and then just maybe build into it more, I would think he would have to use that, size as an advantage.
He's basically saying yes, Teofimo might be stronger, but Shakur is the kind of fighter who can make strength feel useless if you cannot control where he goes. And when Mikey said Shakur is one of the most skilled fighters out there, that was not hype, that was a warning, because talent like that does not break just because you want it. I also noticed the hint in Mickey's voice, because he was not talking about big punches or single moments, he was talking about mindset, about whether Teofimo is disciplined enough to fight like the bigger man instead of trying to outsmart him. That is the real question. You and I know Teofimo has the tools, but Mikey is quietly asking if he can stay patient enough to apply pressure without falling into Shakur's traps. It is not about bullying, it is about controlled command. Mikey is not saying Teofimo cannot win, he is saying if Teofimo wins it will be because he commits to his physical and mental strengths, not because he tries to be smarter than the fighter who thrives on being clever. That is a subtle point, but those are usually the ones that last.
I would think he would have to use that, size as an advantage. But it's hard to say because, Shakur Stevenson is so fucking good at what he does. Defense is on point, speed is on point, footwork is on point. And, he's really one of the best skilled fighters out there. So it's hard to say, oh, this is what you gotta do. No, it ain't easy, trust me. But being Teofimo, again, if he's bigger, naturally stronger, then he should try to use that, to his advantage.
And right after, Mikey Garcia calmly suggested it all comes down to whether Teofimo can truly commit to being the bigger man mentally. Rosier jumps in, sounding like a coach, already 10 steps ahead on the board. When Rosier talks about this fight, you can tell he is not impressed by stats or favorites, because he immediately frames it as polar opposites, and that is the key phrase. He called Teofimo a sharp big puncher and Shakur precise to the highest level, which basically means one guy smashes doors, the other picks locks. And when Rosier says this is not about non-stop action, but about who executes the better plan, that is not him downplaying excitement, that is a warning. This is the kind of fight where one mistake can feel like stepping on a rake. I loved how he ignored the betting odds and said it is 50-50, because that is coach talk, not fan talk. He is basically saying I do not care what the numbers say, I care who performs when the thinking gets tough.
It's going to be a very entertaining but intriguing bout. You have polar, okay, y'all take care. You have polar opposites in the ring. They do what they do very well. Teo is a sharp, big puncher. Shakur is articulate to the 9th degree. It's going to be entertaining. I can't wait for it myself. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to saying, oh, the best man won.
Definitely.
For sure.
He really got to the heart of it when he analyzed Shakur's defense, because Rosier did not call it unbeatable, he called it reactive. He said straight up defensive fighters are hunting counters, which means if you give them space you're signing up to get hit. His answer was not reckless pressure, but smart volume, staying active, staying persistent, and forcing sequences instead of isolated moments. The point about making someone miss once or twice but not 8 times is coaching gold, he was telling Teofimo. Do not swing once and admire it, overwhelm the system until it breaks. And what really stood out was how much Rosier stressed taking away Shakur's time to think, because Shakur with time is dangerous, Shakur without time is a different story. This was not trash talk, it was precise. Rosier is not promising flashy action, he is promising tension, the kind where you lean in because every exchange could shift the fight.
Exchange and who pulls off the best. All right there, nephew. Who pulls off the best game plan?
Absolutely. Shakur's a 3.5 to 1 favorite to win this fight. You think it's a little bit closer than that, or what do you think?
3.5 to 1. Wow, really?
It's kind of crazy, right?
I think that myself, I've got it like 50-50 right now.
Exactly.
We're gonna see who rises to the occasion. Really. And I'm looking forward to it. I really am. It's one of those bouts that it piques your interest and you want to see them give their all. And I can't.
And that is why this perspective matters, because it links Mickey's question about mindset to a real plan. It is not about breaking Shakur's defense with one clever move, it is about overwhelming it with purpose, discipline, and pressure that does not panic. That is how coaches think, and that is why this fight gets more dangerous the more smart people analyze it. When you put it all together, this fight stops feeling like a prediction and starts feeling like a test of character. Teofimo comes in loud, unpredictable, believing chaos is the shortcut to success, while Shakur is calm, precise, confident. The discipline beats bursts of energy. Trainers and fighters are all watching the same pressure points from different angles. Teofimo has to push the pace without losing control. Shakur has to manage the ring without letting confidence turn into complacency. Nobody doubts the skill on either side. Now the question is identity. Does power overwhelm control, or does control crush power? Will this be the night Teofimo proves he peaks when the lights are brightest, or will Shakur show that consistency outlasts raw talent that is the real tension, and why this fight matters beyond titles or odds?
Thing you have to remember about defensive fighters is that they are looking to set up a counter. That's what most defensive fighters do anyway. And he can't wait for those things to happen. He has to be busy and he has to be tenacious. That's how he can stay ahead of the defense. Because if you make me miss once, you make me miss twice. If I throw 5 more, it's very difficult to make me miss 8 punches.
Now I want to hear from you. Who do you trust when the pressure is on the fighter who can explode for 50 on the right night, or the one who delivers 25 every single time? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's have a real conversation. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Boxing Alert. See you in the next video.